Welcome to the semi-penultimate episode of this weird Suzuki Sierra build. Let me quickly bring you up to speed on the project so far. I bought a small car. This small car was very rusty. I took it for an inspection and it failed miserably because it was too rusty. So rather than scrap it like any other normal human being, I decided to tear it in half and make it proper. Rust. In the last episode, I did lots of things with rust. This involves cutting out rust, putting in things that don't have rust in them, and making sure that the rust can't come back again. And after I'd done all that, the bottom of the car got thoroughly painted. So then I realised it was time to make a start on the weird little go-kart chassis thing. So here it is. In this one, I build a sandwich. And it's basically going to be exactly the same as the first episode, but played in reverse with less rust. So I'd better get this thing mobile again, which means putting new wheels on it.
I'm gay!
Now if you've been here for a while, you'll know that I like to pin comments like this. And for some reason, very angry people have decided to reply to these comments in very old videos. Naturally, I reply by instigating and making people angry for no real reason, when they can't back up their claims in their comments. This has inspired me. So, allow me to introduce Fight Club.
The first rule of Fight Club is...
You comment your favourite trash talk in the comments below, and I will pin the best one.
The second rule of Fight Club is...
That's right, there are two rules. And the second rule is if I've pinned a comment already, you should all fight each other in there. And the winner will be decided in the following episode. So, fight amongst yourselves for my amusement. Anyway, back to cars. Hopefully you didn't notice the insane spoiler in the last few shots. Think of the children. He's using the tow bar for something other than towing. And if you didn't, you're probably blind. But here's what we're dealing with today. Basically, the wheels are rubbish, the tyres are rubbish, so I'm going to take off the wheels, get new tyres, and put them back on again. And then make the chassis look as nice as I can be bothered. And there we have it. A true go-kart. And the first thing I have to do is remove all the crusty things. Like this muffler. That was done muffling a long time ago. So off with its head. And believe it or not, once I'm done restoring this, it's going to look brand new again. Amazing. When I was painting all these diffs, I realised there was a redback hiding in my car. So I decided to give it several coats of zinc and give it an additional exoskeleton. Anyway, I'll call it Han Solo.
I love you.
I know.
What's going on, Tim?
And as if by magic, the quickest, dirtiest paint job is finished. Now you might be thinking, it looks quite good. And if you're the sort of person who would normally do a paint job like this, then please don't work on cars. Or at least crash them afterwards so no one else has to buy them. Anyway, compared to the effort involved in painting this one and doing the chassis and everything, this is absolutely horrendous. I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine, and I'm probably just being unsatisfied and pedantic as usual. But it'll do. Anyway, I should start putting that nice new exhaust on right about now. Now I've decided I'm going to do some maintenance stuff on this car while it's in the easiest possible way to do the maintenance. And this involves doing something that's behind the radiator. So now that that's out of the way, I'm going to do the water pump and the timing belt, because I have all this room for activities. Well, that's annoying. Even this thing can't get that crank center nut off, so I can't get the harmonic balancer off, can't get the timing cover off, so therefore can't do the timing belt and water pump. But I did pry it off a little bit and have a look behind it, and it looks relatively healthy. There's no cracks in there. So this can be a job for future me. So how many of you are shouting at the screen right now, saying that that's not how you do the timing belt? Well, you'd be absolutely correct. And this means good news and bad news. The bad news is, I'm going to have to do this later, the hard way, when I can be bothered. But the good news is, this is a non-interference engine anyway, so it doesn't really matter if the cam belt does break. So I'll do it when it does. Fight me below. Well, with that disappointment out of the way, seeing as I can't do any engine work, I'm going to do some interior work. Starting with this. Excessive sound deadening left over from the V10 project. Now, seeing as I've welded all of this stuff in here, I've had to chisel away this factory sound deadening, which isn't really sound deadening at all, it's just some weird kind of plastic crumbly shit. So I'm going to put a layer of my sound deadening along this bit where I've chiseled it up, and then I'm going to put a second layer on top of everything to bring it up to the same height. And then, marine carpet, because it's delightful and absolutely original in four-wheel drives. And what that's going to do is cover up all this bullshit that I've done with this seam sealer that I went over the top a little bit with, and make it so it doesn't look as crap as it does in the real world. Well, that's pretty much done now. There's a very slight gap at the end where you can see some of the sound deadening in there. But when you've got the rear seats in place, you're never going to see that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I can consider this back area done. I think it's time to fit you now. This is actually the best thing about tiny cars. Oh no, maybe my body mounts don't line up properly. I can just move the car out the way. So let's pick you up and give you a nice little tour of what it's like underneath here now. I don't remember if I had it before, but this is the after. This is what a rush job gets you. Now, whoever made the exhaust, you bloody suck. Because you ended up putting two flanges, single flanges on this, so I had to make up a little thing in the middle to put them together. But aside from that, a few little zinc coat touch-ups that I missed when the chassis was off, like in there for example. And I'd say all of my alignment is pretty good. All the weird little body mount things are in the correct positions. Nice. So now it's just a case of redoing everything I did to take off this body. which I'm hoping is going to be a very easy exercise. Although when I took the body mounts off, I tended to throw them everywhere, so now I've got to try and find those underneath loads of random workshop objects. Anyway, it went back together very nicely, and I didn't film the rest of putting it back together because it's basically episode 1 in reverse. But it passed the pink slip. So even though this is a slightly shorter than usual episode, I'm out enjoying this car instead of looking at it on a hoist, because that's what it's all about anyway. However, paint job on the outside looks a bit crap, doesn't it? Maybe that's some foreshadowing for the next episode.